Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Thursday, January 10th, 2019, and here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front over there in Asia, Nikkei's down a bit, over 1%, and Shanghai's a little bit lower, Hang Seng's up. Over there in Europe, mixed market. Here in the States, everybody's up a little bit. And oil up a little bit, gold down a bit, and Bitcoin, ba-boom, down a lot, almost down 10%, as warned by our cryptocurrency expert, Jonathan Cho. Yep, he's in the know. He nailed this perfectly. Moving on, the S&P 500 posts first 5-day winning streak since September. Long time ago. But Macy's shares tanked more than 18%, their worst day ever. So, go back to your top trends for 2019. What do we have? Dying brands. Put Macy's in there and a lot of the other ones. They're too big. They're all the same. They grew too fat and nothing new. Overextended. Bought out all the competitors, and it's just more of the same everywhere. So watch your dying brands, because we don't give investment advice, but do you want to invest in one? Your choice. And what else do we have here? Fourth quarter earnings are coming up in the U.S., and they're expected to rise by nearly 15%. But next year, they're looking at only about a 4% increase. The reason they went up so high this year was thanks to Trump's tax cuts. That's right. Went down from 35 to 21% tax rate for the big corporations. Took all that money overseas and they got that other tax break and bought what? $1 trillion worth of stock buybacks. That boosted up the markets. But markets find calm as worries dissipate. That's right. Because we remember what just happened in December. Worst December since the Great Depression. But everything got nice. And here's why. This is from the Wall Street Journal today. U.S. stocks are on their swiftest rebound in nearly a decade, fueled by reinvigorated confidence in the domestic economy. Wait a minute. What is that? What's this fueled by reinvigorated confidence in the domestic economy? Nothing's been reinvigorated. It's the same. Let me keep reading. And signals the Federal Reserve will take cautious path on future interest rate increases. Yeah, that's it. Nothing else. It was the rising interest rates that brought the markets down as we had forecasted would, and it's now market turmoil spurs Fed caution over pace of future increases. Volatile financial markets and muted U.S. inflation are bolstering arguments within the Federal Reserve to take more time before increasing interest rates further. In an environment of muted inflation pressures, the committee could afford to be patient about further policy firming from the minutes of the Fed. You know what that is.
Warning, warning, bullshit alert.
You got it. All they're interested in is the equity markets. End of story. Remember, the Fed raised rates back in February of 2018 when employment numbers went up and wages went up. But this time, following wages going up the most in 10 years for over the whole year, and some of the best employment numbers we've seen, what did the Fed do? Well, we're not going to raise rates this time because we're worried about the equity markets. We're going to be, quote, patient. It's a rigged game. That's all they're concerned about, and that's all that their low rates, their zero interest rate policy and quantitative easing has achieved a 10-year bull run based on nothing more than Fed.
That was bullshit.
You got it. Because all you have to do is read your new trend alert that just went out. Our trend alert, Trump's Powell. Economic 9/11 delayed temporarily. That's right. When we made the forecast of an economic 9/11, Powell, back in September, said, get ready for 3 to 4 rate increases. That was the message going out in 2019. Now here we are, Powell backtracks. The Fed's backtracking one after another. 3 Fed policymakers urge cautious approach to rate rises. A trio of senior Federal Reserve policymakers have counseled a wait-and-see approach to U.S. interest rates as they seek to assess the implications of the extreme volatility that struck financial markets late last year. That's all they're interested in is financial markets, because that's who runs the show. The banksters. End of story. The central bankers, an illegal organization, as far as I'm concerned, created by Woodrow, may he rot in hell, Wilson, the slimy SOB from Princeton, the president, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and banks. Yeah, that Princeton, who gave us World War I that we never had to get into, and gave us the Federal Reserve, a private group of banksters that are robbing us blind and giving our dough to the big guys when they get in trouble, as the central banks doled out some $26 trillion to boost those equity markets up. Oh, and there are riots going on over there in France and other countries because people can't make a living and pay their taxes or heat their homes or feed their families. Matter of fact, here in the USSA, 78% of the people, according to that study, are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's what the Fed does. Read your trend alert. You'll see where the future is going. Oil prices, they ticked higher on Thursday, extending a winning streak into the 9th session. And the reason being, to counter rising U.S. oil output, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, including Russia, reached a deal to rein in supply that officially began in January, which is now, right now. And Iran's oil minister said U.S. sanctions against his country were fully illegal and Tehran would not comply with them. Doesn't make any difference if they're going to comply or not. It's who's going to buy it, because the United States will hit those people hard for buying it. But he's 100% right. It's totally illegal. But what does America care about illegal? They launched illegal wars against Afghanistan, illegal wars against Iraq, illegal wars against Libya, and now we're illegally in Syria. But you, private citizens, you better obey the law to the letter of the law, because we're going to prosecute you to the fullest. But the big guys can get away with big illegal murder that costs trillions and kills millions. Gold eases as dollar recovery offsets a dovish Fed. Okay, on gold. You can't break above that 1,300 mark, but it's not going below that 1,275 mark. So it's right in that period over here where it's going to go one way or another. We hold by our forecast. The bottom of gold is $1,200 an ounce. Has to break over $1,450 an ounce for it to zoom toward that 2,000 mark. And right now it's just playing in that field. And it's not moving up because the market volatility is quieted down. End of story. And speaking of gold, Greece sees pot of gold in cannabis. Yeah. Greece, which is slowly emerging from a decade-long financial crisis, just issued the first 2 licenses to private companies to grow cannabis and is set to grant 12 more this month. We got 35 countries and it looks like 60 countries are going to be legalizing it for recreational or medical use within the next 2 years. Read your Trends Journal. Top trends for 2019. Get high, get healthy. This is going to be $1 trillion global business. Not only for the high part, but the healthy part. And that's going to be the bigger part. Because if the world could feed us, could it heal us? And yes, it can. And they're finding the natural ingredients of cannabis are improving health and sickness in many different ways. And this is just the beginning. Here we are in 1933 in America. They just lifted prohibition. Yep. Imagine all the people that ran into the booze business and how that bloomed. This is much bigger, much, much bigger, because, again, it's not only about drinking it or smoking it, it's about healing, and that's the big one. And also with hemp now being legalized in the United States, more hemp products out there, it all ties together. And to put it into perspective, they're doing it to raise tax revenue, period, paragraph. Over in Colorado, the first state that legalized it in the United States, they're bringing in more tax revenue from marijuana than alcohol. 1 in 5 millennials with debt expect to die without ever paying it off. The average millennial, aged 18 to 34, had about $32,000 in personal debt, excluding home mortgages last year, according to Northwestern Mutual's 2018 Planning and Progress Study. Isn't that something? Can you imagine starting off your life with that kind of debt? And a lot of it going into education to get degrees in worthlessness. American faces long Russian stay. Paul Whelan's lawyer says he could be held for months as alleged spying is investigated. Yep, they got this guy, Russian authorities charged him with espionage. He could remain in custody for 6 months. So what's the story behind this? You read the newspapers and those Russians are at it again. But when you talk to other experts and see what they have to say, it's a different story. And one of them that I respect and had the pleasure of meeting is Philip Giraldi. And he's a former counterterrorism specialist and military intelligence officer of the CIA. So this guy's been there, knows it, and says it like nobody else. Check this link out on the page. It's worth looking at. Is this guy a spy, or is he just a stooge? Well, think for yourself. Read that article. Anti-immigration party helps Spain's far right find its voice. Yep, in 2018, more migrants arrived by sea to Spain than any other European country. And as this new party, Vox Party, the group made its mark in December in regional elections in Andalusia, and that's where most of the immigrants are coming in southern Spain, where it won primary seats for the first time. Italy and Poland will instigate European spring, pledges Salvini. He is the Lega head over there in the coalition between Cinque Stelle and Lega in Italy. And Salvini has pledged a new European spring alongside Poland's government as Italy's populist leader attempts to build a Eurosceptic alliance ahead of the Brussels elections in May. And he said Poland wanted to, quote, strengthen the EU and reform it from within so it can serve all citizens. They want to focus on traditional values. And do you know what the major issue is? Anti-immigration with other leaders in Europe. Spain, Italy, Poland, Hungary, Germany, Austria. This is a major trend. It's not going away. It's going to continue to build It's one of our top trends for 2019. Human waves. We called it history before it happens. See where it's going. It's big. 1 out of 6 people in the world want to leave their homeland for a safer place where they could earn a living, escape war, violence, and corruption. This is just the beginning. Iraq urges U.S. to maintain true presence. Great. Hey, if Iraq urges us to maintain true presence, why not? An illegal war based on lies, we have every right to be there, don't we? Taliban attack kills at least 26 across Afghanistan, mostly police. Afghan pilots misfire as U.S. spends billions. 11 years after the United States began building an air force for Afghanistan at a cost now nearing $8 billion, it remains a frustrating work in progress. It's not a frustrating work in progress. It's more wasted money by a losing military that hasn't won a war since World War II, and no one in any business would be in business with a track record of failures like the U.S. military. Oh, yeah, we should stay there in Iraq, stay there in Afghanistan, keep spending your money, and now, as Trump orders U.S. out of Afghanistan, CIA-backed units will remain. U.S. sends troops to Gabon. Isn't that great? One after another. One after another. All losers, all violent, and no end in sight, unless you occupy peace. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.